So today we are going over another conversation that we've had many times because Frank Seravalli went on a recent episode of the Daily Faceoff podcast, going out there and talking about Anaheim Ducks forward Trevor Zegras. And of course, you know why you're here. You're interested in hearing whether or not the Montreal Canadiens could be involved. And I will say that the comments made by Seravalli do not directly link the Montreal Canadiens, but there are some other updates from different NHL sources, like Pierre LeBrun, for example, that do link the Canadiens and the Ducks forward. So without further ado, let's head over onto TVA Sports because there are two articles that I wanted to read out here today. The first one is Trevor Zegras, an imminent trade, published from June 2nd, 2024. This is, of course, in French, translated to English. Let's go out there and read this. It appears that the Anaheim Ducks have reached their limit with forward Trevor Zegras. In the latest edition of his podcast, Daily Faceoff hockey expert Frank Seravalli indicated that there were a lot of points of friction between the Anaheim Ducks and the 23-year-old. He suggests that several members of the Ducks staff believe that Trevor Zegras will not be able to add any more dimensions to his game in the future. The American is also reportedly very upset that the organization traded Jamie Drysdale to the Flyers last January. The defenseman was his best friend on the team and his roommates. Additionally, Zegras is one of the players the Ducks strongly encouraged to move to Florida to train this past offseason. The NHL fined the team $50,000 because of this. According to Frank Seravalli, a trade would be desired by both of these parties, both the Anaheim Ducks and Trevor Zegras himself. So with this in mind, it goes out there and pretty much confirms a lot of the stuff that we had been speculating over the past few months here. And I say months, yeah, it's been a long time that we have talked about. And I guess you could say, oh yeah, well, Frank Seravalli, just because one guy goes out there and says it doesn't really mean it's confirmed. Yeah, that's true. I'll go out there and tip my cap to that. But at the same time, this is the first time we are hearing from one of the main NHL insiders that, yeah, Trevor Zegras himself is already frustrated. He is upset, reportedly, because of that Jamie Drysdale trade. He also would be interested in getting moved, and there are people in the Ducks organization that don't really think he's going to get better as the years go on. So, not a lot of complacency there between both of these parties. If it is true that Zegras is at the limit, or the Ducks have reached their limit with this dude, then hey, looks like we could be seeing a trade happening soon. But of course, with all of this new information being put out there into the media, I start to wonder, where do the negotiations go? Because now that it's been publicized by Frank Seravalli that this is the case, that both the player and the team want to trade, that both the player and the team are frustrated with where things are going, and that both of these parties might not even be willing to consider staying together after this year, then it becomes a lot easier for other NHL teams to look at Anaheim and say, hey, you guys are not on good terms, you're very clearly looking for a move as quickly as possible, so we are not going to pay you whatever price it is you are asking for. We're going to lower it because we have all the bargaining power here. You guys want this trade to be done. So obviously, it's going to change the way negotiations are done from now until the inevitable Zegras trade. Who knows if that might lower the cost of a potential Montreal Canadiens trade over the next few weeks here as well. But I guess we're just going to have to keep our ears peeled because, of course, as this story develops, as the Trevor Zegras comments and updates keep on coming out, we're going to get more discussion points for this, especially when it comes to the Habs, because there was an article published on The Athletic earlier this week from Pierre LeBrun talking about NHL rumblings, the Devils goalie search, Zegras, Marner, Necas, Gibson, Saros, and more from the draft combine. This is The Athletic, so it's paid for material. We're not going to go out there and read this, but what we are going to read is this article from TVA Sports, which summarizes what Pierre LeBrun said on this show. Article. My goodness. The Canadiens would have shown interest in these two forwards. Let's go out there and read what this article, again translated from French into English, has to say. According to Pierre LeBrun, Kent Hughes had indeed contacted the Carolina Hurricanes for additional information about Czech forward Martin Necas. He points out, however, that about half the teams in the NHL have made that same type of call to Carolina. There also was an extended discussion about this on the YouTube channel. We made a video talking about the Necas and Montreal Canadiens trade talk being confirmed. Not that a trade or an inevitable move is confirmed, but that there were indeed calls, and that is also important to acknowledge, because if they are talking, then we have the ability to go out there and speculate what they're talking about, right? But all Marty Nature's talk aside, this article then goes out there and says that, in addition, the Montreal Canadiens and the Anaheim Ducks have reportedly re-established contact in the Trevor Zegras case. LeBrun, however, tempers expectations by mentioning that the Canadian staff does not necessarily intend to pursue the talented American forward aggressively. The journalist from Daily Faceoff's site, Frank Seravalli, had mentioned during the previous weekend that there were a lot of points of friction between the California organization and the 23-year-old young man, that a trade would be desired by both parties. So, with this in mind, Pierre LeBrun talking about how the Canadiens are kind of circling back and they're revisiting those Zegras talks, but they're not doing it with this super devoted intention of getting a trade done. They're just going out there, seeing what's happening, seeing what the scoop is, and seeing if there could be some sort of a move. They're not too aggressive with it, which I guess to some Canadiens fans would be a good thing, because I know a lot of Habs fans over the past few months have said that they don't want Trevor Zegras, that his attitude, his style of play doesn't really fit the Habs, etc., etc. There's a lot of, criticism there, which I get it, it's totally justified, but at the same time, there are a lot of people that believe in the good of Zegras too, that his goal scoring, his playmaking, his puck handling, his dangling, his pizzazz, his offensive creativity would translate in a positive way should he be placed with a Cole Caulfield, for example. That, of course, is not really taking into account the rest of the acquisitions the Canadiens can make. It's not talking about Caden Lindstrom or the NHL Draft. It's just saying, hey, what if you cut and paste Zegras from last year's team to this year's team, and how would that do? And if it's not really something that you vibe with, I could totally understand it. It's why the Canadiens are taking their caution with this. They're not just chomping away at the bullets, seeing whatever is out there and just making that payment immediately. They're seeing if they can get Zegras at a lower price, they're seeing if they can take advantage of the situation, and they're slowly taking advantage of the Anaheim Ducks being put in this precarious situation where it's kind of boiled down to the player and the team really not seeing eye to eye anymore. Especially with the Jamie Drysdale thing. I mean, it was already reported earlier on in the year that because Drysdale was traded, Trevor Zegras could have been unhappy, but now for Frank Seravalli to go out there and say, yeah, no, he is upset. Maybe even still upset about that Jamie Drysdale trade. I mean, hey, you trade away the guy's best friend, that's gotta sting a little bit, right? I get it, you can say, oh, you're professionals, you're making millions of dollars every year, but Trevor Zegras is 23 years old. He's not a fully matured, wise, wisdomed-aged adult yet. Okay, 23 is an adult, but still, you get what I mean, right? A lot of these guys are just kids. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Trevor Zegras trade update with the Montreal Canadiens, how everything seems to be boiling over in a bad way with Anaheim, and how the Montreal Canadiens, according to Pierre LeBrun, have indeed circled back and have started to discuss this idea a lot more. They're not being super aggressive with it. They're not just paying whatever price is there. They're negotiating, it seems. They're checking in, they're seeing what's the scoop, and they're taking their time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how you feel about that, and what you think the ultimate verdict will be when Trevor Zegras gets traded. Thoughts in the comment section as to what he goes for, and whether or not there would be a really good trade package for Anaheim sent the opposite way. How do you feel about this entire idea? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.